All right, coming in at number 45 on Locked On Senators NHL Draft Rankings, we are going to the USHL for another monster defenseman. This time it's Jacob Rombach, an April 2007 birthday, just turned 18 years old. Not only is he 6'6", he's over 200 pounds, left shot defenseman, and he's committed to the University of Minnesota, where he will begin his college hockey journey in the fall.
Yep, he spent time in the USHL so far, his second season last year with the Lincoln Stars. In 57 games, he had 3 goals, 15 assists, good for 18 points, a plus 29. So that's pretty big, especially Ross, considering that his first year with the Lincoln Stars, he finished a -8 in 59 games. He got to spend some time in the playoffs again, 7 games, no points, -2. So maybe not the showing that he would hope, but it's important to know with Jacob Rombach that he's a defensive, shutdown, stay-at-home defenseman. So you're not necessarily going to be looking at the point totals as a way to properly evaluate this player.
And I know we're not always looking at plus minus as the be-all, end-all statistic, whether it's with prospects or with NHL players, but it is worth noting that Rombach was a plus 29 this season with the Lincoln Stars. So he is a reliable defensive defenseman here. And in the rankings, we've got a twofer for the people in the top 35. We are adding on Sebastian High. He is the host of the Locked On NHL Prospects podcast. He also works as the USHL scout for elite prospects. We've got the EP ranking separate, but Sebastian does a great job following the USHL. And in his original top 32 here that he sent us, he's got Rombach at 28, which is higher than anybody else. Craig Button has him at 34. And then there's a bit of a gap, 41 for elite prospects, 57 for Bob McKenzie. McKean's has him at 73. Scott Wheeler, an honorable mention just outside of his top 80. And Corey Pronman doesn't have him ranked at all. So if you're an NHL team and you're considering drafting Jacob Rombach, what are you hoping that it accomplishes down the road?
Well, you're looking at a defensive defenseman. I think he projects as a third pair shutdown defenseman that kills penalties. What teams are going to like about him, Ross, is the frame right off the bat. You talked about it, 6'6", 201. He's a smooth, straight line skater for his size. He will join the play from time to time, but that's not like pinching and playing an offensive game. Joining the rush isn't really his thing. I watched his highlights of all his points with the Lincoln Stars, and again, this is a defensive. Most of his assists were secondary, kind of just moving the play along, which eventually turned into a goal, not really necessarily setting up the goal, or a shot from the point that was deflected or blocked, and then they score on the rebound. So I actually think he got some pretty good puck luck when it comes to the 15 assists he got this season. Not trying to take anything away from him, but just what I noticed. And it can be tough, Ross, to try to evaluate defensive defenseman prospects because, look, I don't think it'll surprise people. I was not attending Lincoln Stars games this year. I didn't have any live looks at Jacob Rombach. So you're going off the highlights, which I watched, but those are only going to show goals and assists typically, or maybe sometimes big hits, things like that. So from reading other people's work about covering him, they say that he's got a good gap control. He blocks shots. He uses his size, that 6'6" frame, to poke pucks away and really do a good job of driving players wide with his reach. However, when you're this size at this age, you should be physically dominating other players' opponents. You should be a physical presence. You should be a towering force that guys are terrified to go in a board battle with or skate down your side of the ice. Unfortunately, that's not the case with Rombach. From what I've been reading, Ross, a lot of scouts are saying they got to see him bump up that physical play if you've got the size like that. And if you're going to be a shutdown defenseman, impose your will with your size as well. So that's one thing I think he's going to really have to work on. But I mean, lots of time to work on that for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because it almost feels like he only uses his size advantage as a reach instead of a physically imposing type defenseman. I don't think this is going to be an Ottawa Senators draft pick. Wait, I don't think it should be an Ottawa Senators draft pick. We know that the physical profile does lead into where the Sens have gone before. However, not a plus skater at this point. Like, I don't think his skating is his number one attribute or even close to it. His gap control is good and everything, but I don't think that this is the type of player the Senators should be targeting at any point in this draft. Pilsy, your Sens stars as we wrap up our conversation on Jacob Rombach.
Yeah, I got him going at the late second round. For me, that's not a range the Sens are going to be in. So for Rombach, I got him at 3 stars. I do think, Ross, that this is going to be a guy that in his mid to late 20s is going to figure it out and is going to find a way to play minutes on an NHL team. But I think that's going to be a team that already has some high-end defenseman prospects. Maybe they take him as like an insurance pick, being like, hey, at least we've got a guy that we think is a very safe pick, high floor, low ceiling type. And I don't think that's a player the Ottawa Senators should be targeting.
Jacob Rombach with an average ranking of 46.6 comes in at number 45 on our Locked On Senators countdown of the top prospects in the 2025 NHL draft.